What are my thoughts on politics? Good question. I have no thoughts on politics beyond, you know, beyond politics that affects me personally. For example, police, cops, popo, you name it. I despise the damn police. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the purpose of them, and many Republicans are going to absolutely, hate me over this. But I can care less. I can care, like less. I can give less. Gives a. I can give less damn. You know what I mean? Fuck it. I can care less. About what Republicans think about my opinion about police. I think they're too brutal. I think they got a pole that is 100 feet long up their asses. All right. Because if you're somebody like me, the police ain't gonna like you. If you're living in these conditions, you know, have the type of clothes that I wear and whatnot, they're not gonna like you. If you're poor, if you're a minority, if if you look sketchy as all hell and back, or if you are considered to have a bad record, it doesn't matter. All right. If the police don't like you, if they don't like you, they're not going to treat you with any civility. All right. And this is because they're human. You know, don't get me wrong. I understand that certain individuals that needs to go to prison, that needs to be treated like animals and whatnot, because there's no helping them. All right. But police brutality, you know, is getting worse by the year, or it's just simply staying the same. Of course, it depends on which state you live in. In my home state of Louisiana, especially where I live, police are no good sons of bitches. All right, especially in Washita and especially in Caldwell. The main two places that I've experienced police brutality. And I must, you know, state I did nothing to deserve, to be beaten by the police in regards to both accounts, or tackled by the police, or or anything. All right, nothing. Oh, but if you're resisting the police, you deserve to be beaten. Like, no, you don't. Oh, but you deserve to be tased. Like, I can understand being tased. To death, no. Pepper sprayed, sure. But doing it excessively where they are permanently blind or partly blind, or have everyone put it, or doing it in such a way where they can suffer cardiac arrest, no. All right. And the problem is with police is that they have too much power in today's time. And you got some folks out there that says that you can defend yourself against police if you are being wrongfully, like like, for example, the Acorn incident, the most recent police bullshit incident, where a police officer, basically went, "Oh, shots fired," over a damn acorn falling on the roof of his, police vehicle. Like, shots weren't fired. Acorn didn't fire no shots. It just fall straight down. It was an innocent civilian just falling straight down on the roof of his vehicle and just like, like, "Ah!" But police can get away with that, you know. And don't let any damn lawyer tell you, like, "Oh, well, no, you have the right to defend yourself." If you had the ability to defend yourself against, no, no, that's not how it works. you're going to get yourself killed if you defend yourself against a police officer. That's how it works. That's the reality of it. You know, if a if you fight back, you're putting your life at risk. All right? And if you retaliate in any way humanly possible, trying to get a lawsuit for emotional damage, or for PTSD or whatnot, yet you can't win. It's not doable. The best thing you can hope for is to get them depromoted, or like a slap on the wrist of some sort, or a verbal talking to. That's it. If anything, if I've learned anything from the news, police brutality, you know, is well documented when it comes to minority folks. But when it comes to white people, it's not well documented because no one cares about, white people being, you know, neglected or abused or anything like that because of what our ancestors did, 100, like 50 to 100 years ago. You know, I could die due to police brutality tomorrow and won't be covered on the news. I could, you know, get beaten from all hell and back and die on the streets, and the only people that would care, you know, wouldn't be the news folk. But anywho, but no, I absolutely despise the current affairs in regards to police. This entire police culture of, you know, of treating prisoners like they're animals. Like I said, I can understand murderers, that enjoys murdering people. Keyword enjoys, you know, to rapists that, loves raping people, to pedophiles and, you know, sociopaths and psychopaths that loves beating the crap out of people. That makes it their favorite pastime. People like that deserves to be treated like animals. But then you have people like me who has, autism, ADHD, and bipolar, obviously the functioning side of autism, you know, people like me, you know, we don't deserve to be treated like animals. Then you got people that is on drugs that goes to prison for years on end. They don't deserve to be treated like animals. They don't need to go to prison either. I personally believe that if someone's caught doing dope or someone's caught selling dope, I don't think they should be thrown behind bars. Because obviously many folks that sells or does dope, many folks that sells dope, does it for several reasons. None of them good, but one of them being money, another being the high, and the third being, because they're being forced into it. And either way it goes, you also got dope heads that's on dope that don't need to go to prison. If they're doing meth, what you should do is send their asses to a darn rehab. Sentence them to several years in rehab. If they're having a mental crisis, don't put them behind bars because that's just going to make them worse. And next thing you know, they're either going to go suicide or they're going to become an actual murderer once they get out. Those are the only two options that somebody having a mental breakdown, a mental health crisis, is going to do once they get out of prison. And people wonder, why mental health across the United States is getting worse. Simple. United States of America doesn't care about its citizens. No state in the United States gives a damn about its citizens. And that's why I say we need another civil war. And many people will be like, oh, Uh, uh, Civil War, your pussy ass can't handle blah blah blah. Listen to me. I know it sounds crazy, but like I said, it's one of the reasons why we need another civil war you know, because look at it, yet democratic cities out the ass that is declaring themselves, sanctuary cities for migrants, and yet not making any moves to properly house or take care of not only their own citizens, you know, that is living dirt poor on the damn streets, but also to properly take care and house many of the migrants that they plan on taking in. Like, you can't say that you're a sanctuary city and not make moves to prepare for a, population boom. Yeah, dumbass if you think you're even remotely prepared for it. All right? Then you also have Republicans, like in regards to many Republican states, they don't care about, mental health at all. Period. End of story. You know, many Republicans think that the best thing that they could ever do is either have your ass murdered, for being a criminal, despite not realizing that by breaking the law, period, any law, trespassing, drug abuse, selling dope, not paying your fines, not paying your tickets, illegally parking, if you go to jail or break any of these simple laws, any law makes you a criminal. So saying that, by default we should kill all criminals is stupid. It's in a way backwards thinking. Then you also have, many Republicans being like, well, we should have tougher laws against criminals. We should have tougher this, tougher that. And like, I'm sorry, but no. Like, I agree when it comes to certain things. I agree when it comes to death penalty for certain, murderers that has, at least 50, 60, people dead by their hands. Yeah, fucking murder, like, get rid of that damn murderer. Put their asses to the damn electric chair. But when it comes to somebody, that mentally snapped, like a switch got flipped off their heads and they just went berserk, because, they were having a mental breakdown or a mental health crisis because they finally reached their last straw. That person doesn't need, to be put down. Sure, spend time in, behind bars, you know, or spend the rest of their life in a damn mental health facility or even 20 years in a mental health facility. Sure, that, you know, like, to be honest, 20 years for somebody, that has murdered somebody because they mentally snapped. And don't be like, well, they deserve to be killed because they mentally snapped. Like, listen to me. What caused them to mentally snap? No one asks the big question about what causes somebody to go off and murder somebody, you know, and whatnot. No one asks that question. And when they do, they always, give a half-baked idea and whatnot, after the fact. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I murdered somebody, all right, then it's not because I was in the right mind at that time. You know, not because I planned it out or anything. Like, no. If I were, let's say if I were to murder Roger Cox tomorrow, then it's not because, I was planning it out from the get-go. It's because that son of a bitch did something, that pissed me off and it just simply pushed me over the edge. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that I'm living on the edge right now, mentally speaking, because this is not good for my mental health. But enough about that. Enough about murder. Enough about all of that, because I'll get the FBI on my trail. I mean, it's already on my trail. I wouldn't be surprised. So, But yeah, police, back to the police. We have a serious policing problem. We have a criminal problem that's only getting worse. But it's getting worse partly because we have a broken justice system. It's not designed for rehabilitation. It's more designed for punishment, 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 punishment. And it's not punishing them enough. It's punishing them enough. Trust me. You know, it's punishing them too much in many cases. You know, I mean, have you ever been in a prison? Have you ever been in a prison? Is my question. And before anyone asks or before anyone puts in a comment, yes, I've been in prison before. I won't go into detail how or why or what, but yes, I've been in prison before. But anywho, but I want to tell you right now, psychologically speaking, just throwing somebody behind bars in general is enough of a punishment in itself. As the Norwegians put it, just simply being in prison is punishment in itself alone. The stigma behind the idea of being considered a criminal is punishment alone. So, I can tell you right now. So, I can tell you right now, being in prison in itself is the punishment. And I can tell you right now, them prisons, all right, them prisons are terribly designed. Bad for your health, you know, like too many people per dorm. And the guards absolutely don't give a fuck about your health. And like I said, you want people to get worse, put them in a prison like that, like you find in United States. Put them in a United States prison. They're not going to get better. They're going to get worse because all they can do is, sit there and stew. They're not going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. I wish I hadn't done that. No. They're going to be pissed off at the system. They're going to be pissed off at everything but themselves. They're going to be upset at the fact that they got caught. They're going to be upset at everything but the reason why they're in there. They're going to be upset on how they're treated. They're going to be upset on how they're going to be upset on how they're treated. They're going to be upset about the bullshit that they have to go through, the bullshit that they have to deal with. And not only that, but if they're not upset about that, then they're going to be fighting each other. Just fighting each other to assert dominance. So, with that said, it's, it's not a place where people go in and then come out a model citizen. They go in, they learn from each other. They learn, what didn't work, what works, what, gang connections, drug connections. They're not going in, and many people will be like, oh, well, we should throw them in and throw away the key. I'm like, then you have an entire then you'd be like throwing so many people behind bars. All right. In the United States alone, you would basically, like if you were to throw everyone in prison, right now, for every crime that they've ever committed and just throw away the key and call it a day and just try and keep their asses behind bars for the rest of their lives, even for the simplest of crimes, from speeding to not parking right to, you know, in some cases in HOAs, housing authority, like whatever they're called, you know, like HOAs and whatnot, where they can just fine your ass for, having your grass too tall or having your, garage door open, you know, or fine your ass for not cleaning your damn, uh, little parking lot that you got in your front yard. Like, I'm sorry to inform you, but if we were to throw away everyone that doesn't obey the law, you know, from the simplest law to the most complex law, if we were to do that, then damn near the entire United States population, would be behind bars right about now. Like a good chunk of the United States population would be behind bars right now. You know, due to the fact that damn near everyone in the United States, one way or another, has committed at least one or two of these offenses. And that's what's wrong with our system. That's what's wrong with our society. You know. Now, of course, many folks will be like, "Why should we rehabilitate these people so they won't go back? So they won't go back to prison, so they won't continue committing crimes." You know, you can't suspect. Like, let me put it like this: let's say you got somebody like me, right? But in a worser, off condition than me in a way. You throw somebody like me behind bars because, you think you're doing the right thing by doing so. You know, for like, let's say you throw them behind bars for 20 years. They get out, they no longer have a house, they no longer have a car, they no longer have land, they no longer have any property to their name, and with us, they have nothing to lose once they get out. And they're like, well, the system fucked me over to a point where I'm pretty much starting from zero, absolute zero, because they no longer have a job, no longer have anything to work with. What do you think they're going to do? You just created a desperate individual, somebody that's so desperate, that because of their situation, they only have two choices. And let's say they're far, far from their own parents or from anybody. They're either going to live under a bridge somewhere and therefore get thrown back behind bars again because they're, living under a bridge because the United States is very anti-homeless, you know, like it's a system that basically constantly, constantly punish you for being what you are, you know, and whatnot. Now, of course, if we were to throw in rehabilitation into the mix, where, you know, they have the ability to learn new skills, to, learn the ability to, make something of themselves, where they don't have to learn how to, fine tune new ways of doing drug businesses or whatnot, but like teach them mechanics or teach them, you know, like like plumbing or cooking or something like that, and give them some form of you know paycheck once like once a week or once a month type of ordeal. So once they get out, like create an entire program, you know and don't say, oh well, they got a program called work release, and like I've heard of work release, and they're pretty much not paid in actual fucking currency. They're basically slaves. So, and as someone that is against slavery, you know, I know hilarious. Like, well, we seen you have a Confederate flag. How come are you against slavery and still have that thing? Like, keep it for warmth. That dear. Anyway, yeah. With that said, I don't like it. The entire system sucks. You know, anybody that's like, oh well, screw you and whatnot, like, you wonder why we need another civil war. The system sucks. It's corrupt. You know, it's brain dead, full of. It's run and operated by dumbasses, with dumbasses that vote in more dumbasses that thinks that they're making a difference when in reality they're just making shit worse. All right? They're making things worse. These people are making things worse. Police are getting more power, like gaining more power when they don't need more power. Civilians are losing their rights and becoming second class citizens in their own country and their own states. You know, while cops might as well be first class, you know, illegal migrants might as well be second class, and actual citizens might as well be third class. So, yeah, it's messed up, you know. And of course, many people would probably try and, debunk me and just call me an idiot or a loony or whatnot. I'm like, or, try and make fun of me in regards to the Civil War aspect and whatnot. I'm like, I want to tell you right now, in regards to the Civil War, I want to go off a little tangent and try not make this video an hour long, but I'll go off this Civil War tangent. Anybody can do push ups. Anybody can do a 5-mile run. Anybody can do a 10-mile run. Anybody can do a 100-mile hike. Anybody can do the same level of fucking exercises that the damn Marines do. Anybody can strap on 100 pounds, 200 pounds, and walk up a hill. Anybody can do that. All right? You don't need a drill sergeant screaming in your face to tell you to do 100 push ups with a 100-pound bag strapped to your back, or 200 pounds worth of material strapped to your person. You don't need a drill sergeant telling you to do that in the damn mud. To do push ups in the damn mud wearing that damn equipment. You just have to be dedicated to do it. All right? And then, of course, you have the factor that, in regards to the first Civil War, the only reason why the South lost it is simple. They weren't being properly supplied. If they were to, gain the British as an ally in that entire event like they wanted, they would have been properly supplied. They would have been able to win that war. They had the strategic ability to do so. And that's the thing about wars. It's not necessarily how, well off you are, but how, strategic you are. It's a game of chess. You know, don't get me wrong. Having the stamina to basically go day in and day out and the willpower and whatnot to win the war, you know, is very needed in a civil war, like in any war. Like that's a crucial aspect to it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You definitely need well trained soldiers. But like I said, you don't have to join the United States military to get United States, military level of training. So, yeah. And to anybody that thinks you need to join the United States military to get United States military level of training, no, you don't. Now, to get combat experience, however, that's an entirely different story. You know, and you gotta start somewhere. Once you have a decent number of people that has some form of combat experience, on your side, use those son guns, the veterans, to train the next generation. That's usually how it works in the first place. If it's not working like that in the United States military, then they're not using their veterans to their full potential. You know, it would make no sense to me, if you don't use veterans to train the next generation. Makes absolutely no sense to me if you just, not use veterans to train the next generation. But yeah, when it's all said and done, it takes brain power as much as it does, physical power to win a civil war. As a, I think a wise man once said, I'm not sure if I'm quoting them right, but you know, if you have a warrior that doesn't have any brains, but only uses bronze, well, then you just have a simple-minded brute. If you have a warrior that has all brains and no bronze, you know, then they're just a coward. If you have a warrior that has both brains and bronze and knows how to use that bronze, well, then you got, perfectly good fighting machine. So, I'm not sure if that saying is right. Like I'm not sure if I said it right, but the idea is there. But that's another thing that is the problem with many United States prisons. If you got 60 to 70 people in one room, and that room decides to riot, then, you know, then you better have enough guards. Let's hope you have enough guards to deal with this riot. But of course, let's say this riot is organized, done on purpose. You know, then this riot could hypothetically take on the guards as soon as the entire guard force goes into that darn you know like dorm full of 60 to 70 people trying to you know break up the riot. you know and I must tell you, there's less guards than there is prisoners in every prison. you know don't know why. It's the stupidest thing I can ever imagine, but they have some form of mathematics to it. I'm going to tell you right now, if a prison riot, or if all of the prisoners were to be working together and was organized, they could hypothetically just outright overthrow the entire damn prison on a damn dime or a whim. If they were all working, like if they all work together and are coordinated and whatnot, and just simply you know take on the damn guards and whatnot, they can take over the prison if they wanted to. The only thing is that many of them don't want to. Many of them don't care. They're going to riot, yeah, and whatnot, but they're not going to try and take over the prison. I'm not sure if any of them actually tried. But as, Ecuador, I think, one of them countries, Central American countries once proved and has proven it is possible for a prison outbreak, to become a full blown rebellion. So, yeah. I mean, You got the army right there at your feet. All you have to do is convince every one of those prisoners to work for you, and you got military. And last time I checked, the Second Amendment, you know, doesn't say, you know, that individuals has the right to own individual guns. It says individuals has the right to bear arms in the form of militia, just like what some people are doing up there in New York, just like how some people are doing up there in many of those democratic cities, forming militia to protect themselves from gangs and gang violence, and to protect their stores from gangs and gang violence. And all it would have to take is one person that has ambition to form their own militia, have it well regulated and well trained, and as secretive as can be. And there's ways of being secretive in today's time. You know, all it would have to take is somebody with ambition, discipline, and a well regulated militia to try and carve out their own little country. Trust me, taking over the United States would be difficult, impossible. You're better off creating your own country.